Welcome back to Grade 10 Mathematical Literacy. Today we're looking at linear relationships, and this is found on your textbook on page 52. What is a linear relationship? Well, if we have a look at the word linear, we can make the word line. So a linear relationship is a relationship that results in a line. Let's have a look at the mass of potatoes. So if we have 1 kilogram of potatoes, it will cost 8.99 Rand. 2 kilos will cost 17.98 Rand. 5 kilograms of potatoes will cost 44.95 Rand. So each time, for every kilogram of potatoes more, I will pay 8.99 Rand more. So 8.99 Rand plus 8.99 Rand is 17.98 Rand. Plus 8.99 Rand is 26.97 Rand, and so we keep adding 8.99 Rand. What is the cost of a kilogram of potatoes? So 1 kilogram of potatoes will cost 8.99 Rand. Let's put that in words. For every kilogram of potatoes, the cost increases by a constant rate of 8.99 Rand. If we have a look at this, variables are in a linear relationship. Remember, these are your two variables, mass and cost. They are in a linear relationship. When one variable increases, the other one also increases at a constant rate. What does the graph of a linear relationship look like? Well, linear, we can get the word line out of that. So it is a straight line, because if I have 1 kilogram of potatoes, it will cost 8.99 Rand. 2 kilograms of potatoes, you add another 8.99 Rand. So your graph is a straight line graph. Let's have a look at this. This is also a linear relationship, except as people get older, the age groups are increasing, so the number of adults in each age group decreases. That is a decreasing linear relationship because it forms a straight line. We've just discussed this graph does represent a linear relationship because it forms a straight line. It is decreasing at a constant rate. Right, now we're going to have a look at direct proportion. Two quantities are in direct proportion if they both start at 0 and, two conditions, there is a constant difference or a constant ratio. So direct proportion needs to have the graph going through 0 or starting at 0, and there has to be a constant difference or ratio. Let's have a look at direct proportion linear relationships. So we have this advert for a cell phone, and if you have a look at the bottom in fine print here, it tells us that the cost is 1.50 Rand per minute, but it's charged per second. So the first thing we have to do is we have to draw up a table. So we construct a table of values of a direct relationship. So our two variables are the length of the call and the cost. The cost depends on the length of the call. So the cost is the dependent variable and the length of the call is the independent variable. Well, if I have no calls, I'm going to be charged nothing. If we make one call, it will cost 1.50 Rand. If I make 2 calls, the charge will be 3 Rand. If we do 4 calls, so just using your calculator, 4 calls times 1 Rand 50 will give us 6 Rand. So 3 calls will be 4 Rand 50, 4 calls will be 6 Rand, 5 calls will be 7 Rand 50, 6 calls will be 9 Rand, and so on. Let's just identify the pattern. What is happening here? Well, each time we are increasing this value by 1 Rand 50. So we are adding 1 Rand 50. Or we could say that 3 multiplied by 1 Rand 50 will give you 4 Rand 50. So that is the pattern in this relationship. Drawing a graph of a direct proportion relationship, well, let's have a look. The first thing we have to do, we have to add our heading. Every graph must have a heading. Every graph must have a horizontal axis. And if you remember the table, we go back to the table. We said that the cost is the dependent variable, so that is going to go on the vertical axis. The length of the call, I can choose how long I want to make the call, will go on the horizontal axis. So if we go back to the graph, the horizontal axis shows the independent variable. So that's the independent variable because I can choose the cost. I can choose the length of the call, and then depending on how long the call is, that is what my cost will be. So the cost depends on the length of the call. The next thing we have to do, we have to now add the vertical axis and we have to add the horizontal axis. You go back to your table of values to see to which number you've got to take your vertical axis and how far you have to take your horizontal axis. So we go and we fill in those scales. Remember, we start at 0, and if I choose, it would be convenient to choose intervals of 1 Rand 50 because the calls are 1 Rand 50 per minute. So that would be 1 Rand 50, 3 Rand. The numbers have to go up by the same amount each time, and the space between the numbers have to be the same as well. I do not have to have the same scale on the vertical scale as the horizontal scale. Right, the next thing we do is we plot our points. So 1 minute will cost 1 Rand 50. 2 minutes will cost 3 Rand. 3 minutes will cost 4 Rand 50. 4 minutes will cost 6 Rand. And I continue with my graph in this manner. We only worked out till 6 minutes, but if you draw your line, okay, before we draw the line, we've got to decide, do I join these points? Is it discrete or is it continuous? Do I have dots or do I have a continuous line? Well, remember, the way to decide on that, could I get charged for half a minute? Yes, you could get charged for half a minute. So this is going to be a continuous line. So I will go from 0 through all those dots, and I always continue my line to the end of my graph. So that is the line to show the relationship between the length and cost of a call. So now our graph looks like that. What kind of proportion is it? Is there direct proportion? Well, remember, there were two conditions for direct proportion. The first condition, it had to go through 0. The second condition, was it a straight line? Yes, if I took my ruler, you would see that that is a straight line graph. So yes, this is direct proportion. Right, we're now going to use the graph to answer a question. So the question says, use the graph to determine the cost of a cell phone call lasting 11 minutes. Then it says, use the letter C to indicate where you took your reading. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Let's just move this question out of the way. Graph back in position. Right, we were asked to determine the cost of a call lasting 11 minutes. So what you're going to do, you're going to take your ruler, 11 minutes, we start off, that's where we find 11 minutes. You go straight up to the line. As soon as you hit the line, you draw a line across, and where I pick up my pen, I can then take my reading. So I'm taking my reading there, and it is going to be 16 Rand 50. That is where I picked up my pen. So that is the point C. So if I went 11 minutes, I would go up to the line and across, and I would pick up the pen there. So the value C is written on the vertical axis because we were asked for the cost. So the C is going to be there. That's all the explanation for today. Please will you go and do activity 2 on page 54 and activity 3 on page 55. Thank you.